Wow, we're in hell. And not just in Minecraft. Yeah, welcome back. So, did you know that there's a new game afoot? Expedition 33. Now, when I first heard of this game, I thought to myself, I don't know what this is, and I didn't care about it. And then 2 minutes later, somebody told me it's a turn-based RPG, and I was shocked because what's special about it? And then I heard, oh yeah, some French guys made a game that's like a JRPG, and it's really good. So I was, I looked into it. It has the like Mario action type, like action command thing. It's really cool, honestly. It's apparently also really hard for some people. I don't know, get better reflexes, I guess, SMH has said, but on a more realistic note, like, it's a really popular game to the point where some people are claiming that JRPGs are back, or like turn-based games are back. Which, no, they never went away. It's just that if you only play Final Fantasy, if you've been convinced by Square Enix, players, it's not a big enough demographic to have turn-based. No, that's bullshit. People, like, fucking Paper Mario went back to turn-based battles because they realized Super Paper Mario sucked. And granted, oh my god, a lot of people really hate turn-based combat. Some people, yeah, like honestly, there's a lot of different combat styles, but in RPGs, but generally speaking, there are a lot of people who hate anything which isn't like the Reddit chungus, shoot enemy in head, enemy explode type of game, right? You'll even see them have entire YouTube careers dedicated on, like, partially shitting on any RPG and making it seem like they're the devil, basically just because they personally have a gripe against those kinds of games because they're bad. Look, mad cuz bad, it's as simple as that. Another thing is, one of the nice things about, you can make an entire fucking series going over, like, game mechanics, but with JRPGs, and with any game, there is a specific level of abstraction from realism, right? Like, if you would imagine an HP bar and an EXP meter, right? Those things don't exist in real life. So, in a game like, let's say, Counter-Strike, right? Well, maybe not Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has an HP bar of some kind. But if you would imagine Counter-Strike had a damage system like real life, you get shot in the head, you're dead. You get shot in the hand, rip hand, it hurts, right? Like in real life, the skill of a gunman is how well can he shoot. In an RPG, you just hit the shoot button, and then your character's different stats that they train, give your character a better or worse chance at actually hitting the target. Now that's all well and good, elementary, whatever. But the issue comes when you only abstract it to a specific degree. This was my issue with Fallout New Vegas, and is that enemies will attack you like... How do I explain this? Enemies attack you like you're in, like, Call of Duty, right? And your health goes down really fast. However, you also can shoot the enemies normally, and it does no damage because it's sort of abstracted. And it's really, like, stiff and unfun. And of course, you can tell me, well, Kuryochi, you absolute imbecile, you idiot, just use VATS. And yes, I do use VATS. But when the enemy keeps shooting me and bum rushing me, and they don't use VATS, I use VATS like when I hit left shift or whatever the button was in Metal Gear Rising and Raiden enters the fucking blade mode, right? Like, I use VATS as you know, like, you know what I mean. I use VATS like you use adrenaline in the Left 4 Dead 2, like if you use a fucking Uber charge in TF2. I don't use VATS as my only means of combat because it's just, eh. And the issue of that comes when the game is built around VATS, but only somewhat. Like, you know, that game, it's like, I run into the problems where I keep trying to shoot at the enemy, and I hit the enemy's unsecured, you know, undefended fucking skull. And, their head deflects the magnum round. And at some point I'm like, wow, am I talking, you know, am I battling with, like, an N64 like an N64 Gladiator? Why is his skull so thick? But memes aside, right? It's like, you get into a situation where the combat is abstracted, but not enough to where it's fun. So I deal with, you know, the enemy, but the enemy doesn't, you know, it's just, the rules of engagement aren't the same between me and the enemy, I guess. And you have the situation where the entire game is built like an FPS, and you don't, you know, really have the, you know, you have to get used to the fact that even though that works that way sometimes other enemies will just, like, arbitrarily have too much health or whatever, and it's just unfun. One system that I really like is how Xenoblade did it. I mean, there's a lot of systems that did it really good, like Panzer Dragoon Saga, right, or whatever, but Xenoblade was specifically really nice because its system rewarded you for, like, its system rewards, you know, careful this, careful that, but more importantly, it just kind of rewards you for knowing what you're doing. And it is consistent, you know? Like, when you attack an enemy in Xeno, you hit the enemy, and then you hit him again, and then you hit him again, and then you keep hitting them, right? But every single time you hit the enemy will just kind of get hit. And it's, I know it sounds stupid, but it's really consistent. And I'm just leaving this up so you can design this in peace, by the way. It's really like, you know, when I'm playing Xeno and I'm hitting an enemy with like Shulk's sword, I can always be sure that no matter what happens, you know, if I hit him, it's gonna hit him. Meanwhile, in, you know, a game like fucking Fallout, I'm gonna hit the enemy. It's just inconsistent. I don't like it. And I remember, like, talking to people about this, and some people are like, yeah, man, I really didn't like this. But then, of course, you know, the Bethesdian Defender runs in. Not even a Bethesda game, it's an Obsidian game, Trollface, but still. It's like, man, you don't have to fight this hard. It's just a video game. It's also partially, I think my tone may be a bit of an issue. I'm not really a tone policing kind of person, you know, but also I want to leave this kind of open, so... Like, I'm not comfortable, like, saying, oh, well, what you've said right here could have been said much more eloquently if you were only a little bit, if you were only a little bit less pissed off when you see, you know, no, that feels like really gross. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, when I talk about this sort of stuff, I make it clear from the beginning, and I think this is the issue, that, you know, when I'm mad about that sort of stuff, I'm talking from experience and, you know, from a perspective of taste. So sometimes I get, like, you know, I get into a situation where somebody else is, like, you know, trying to argue factually around my critique of a game, which stems from me not liking the mechanics. And it's like, well, the fact, you know, I started with, well, I didn't enjoy this, and then the response to that is, well, factually, the way the mechanic works is, you know, like, I guess the person just thinks I don't get the mechanic, like, I do. I just really don't like it, because it's just not meant to be that way in a game, you know? It's just, I really don't like it when it works that way. I guess if I had to explain my big issue with that, and we'll get back to the main point eventually, by the way, if I had to explain my big issue with games like New Vegas, it's that turn-based combat in a non-turn-based game can go sour really fast, because turn-based games have a specific level of abstraction that, you know, real-time games don't. Right? Like, for instance, you know, if you're playing Paper Mario and Bowser hits you with fire, he'll do, like, a specific amount of damage, but he isn't gonna immediately, you know, lower your state or take away your power-up. You know, that'd feel kinda really punishing, because, you know, in an RPG, you aren't expected to do stuff hitless. But in, you know, a normal game, you also, you know, you expect your health to go down. What I'm trying to say with this is that because of that, it's, really nice seeing a real proper turn-based game with action commands, but it's also kind of funny seeing, the response from some specific people. Because if it's not clear already, I think I mentioned this in the last video, maybe I didn't, let me just tell you now, I am not a video game donkey fan. I really dislike how dishonest he is in a lot of the things he says in his reviews. I dislike that he says one thing but feels another about specific games, specifically some RPGs. I dislike how he misconstructs stuff and, you know, bullshits in his reviews, over-exaggerating issues games have to make them seem worse than they are, like in the Xenoblade Chronicles review, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 review, or Octopath Traveler. There's a lot of stuff that he's done that I really dislike. So, I just have to make that clear immediately, right? Like, I have a lot of... the worst one had to be the dishonesty, more than just lying, right? Because I can respect in a, wow, this is awful, but, you know, I understand the grind to just make shit up because you hate something so much. I don't understand, I guess it's the YouTube clicks or whatever, right? Maybe the issue is a donkey made his personality about hating RPGs, and then, like, every RPG hater, you know, like everyone who, you know, you find something you end up liking, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I really love this game, but my personality as I hate RPGs XXX29 will go away if I say I like this game. What do I do? And you run into these kinds of situations all the time as a YouTube, you know, personality. And some people handle them differently. Scott, did it really well, because he was never an RPG hater. He just never liked RPGs. And the truth is, yeah, a lot of people don't like a lot of games. I would rather, like, if my child liked I don't have kids, nor do I ever plan to have kids, but if my child played an extraction shooter, I'm not religious, but I will go to an exorcist, you know, just in case. What I'm trying to say is there are a lot of things that a lot of people don't like. in terms of genres, for whatever reasons. I can only handle, like, half an hour, maybe an hour at best of TF2 per, like, fucking every few days. Because otherwise, I start having, like... I just start having a lack of fun, and I click off the game. I got into it recently because I wanted to play a bit of it with a friend. But what I'm trying to say is, like... I did this the wrong way around. Oh my fucking god. I just realized now. Oops. Anyways, so as I was trying to say before the realization happened, the entire reason I was doing this, if you went away, is so I could have an easier time going up and down the stairs. Because I didn't want to do this big turn. Oops! Anyways, yeah, you know it's a video made by me when I fuck something this basic up. Anyways, look, point is, as somebody who's spent, like, a lot of time in the sort of gaming sphere, you kind of realize that a lot of people have a lot of really bad opinions about everything. And by really bad, I don't mean opinions I disagree with. There's a lot more of those. But you realize that a lot of people have opinions that are based off of things which do not conform with reality. Right? Like, how many times have you talked to someone and they say the most insane shit about something which has never happened in a game, right? Like, or how many times do you see people, like, hear about a game and immediately dismiss it without knowing whatever the fuck it is? I mean, it happens a lot with older games. Try telling someone Panzer Dragoon Saga is the best game ever made. It is. But try telling them that. They don't know what that is. They just see old graphics. They don't understand what art is or art style. Honestly, in my humble opinion, we need to, like, bring art classes into every single classroom ever. But instead of teaching children about, oh, Mozart, oh, this ancient painting of a duck. I mean, ducks are cool, but, like, no. We need to teach people about, like, the importance of art style. We specifically have to, like, explain to people, and we have to show them, like, you have to show a really shitty modern game which looks ugly and a beautifully looking old game. And then, like, you have to make the children understand and analyze, ooh, well, why does this work? Why does this flow? So they understand the process of art and not just unga bunga not enough pixels, you know? Like, genuinely, I know, like, I know this is very off track for the last 18 minutes and 18 seconds or whatever, right? But genuinely, a part of me feels like if I ever hear somebody mention a game's graphics, like, oh, this game looks old as a negative, I just shut off. I just ignore the person talking. If one of the critiques you'll have about a game is, ooh, it looks bad, before you even know what the game is, like, especially if it's an older game, and, like, especially if it's an older game with a really good art style, it just proves to me that whoever's saying that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because, holy shit, Panzer Dragoon Saga looks beautiful. And any claims that it doesn't will be met with several flying bricks. but seriously, man, it's maybe a little bit aggravating. I understand, like, I'm sometimes asked by people who know me, like, oh, why does this matter so much to you? Specifically, like, you know, older games and preserving, you know, people's fun for them. And it's because we live in an era where companies will repackage and resell the same garbage to you 50,000 times. And the people who repackage and resell you that stuff refuse to even repackage and resell you the old stuff that was good. because the executives on top just don't care. They don't understand video games. They don't like video games. They just like money. To a lot of executives, it is so fucking hard to explain, like, why people like retro games. It's hard to explain to them how art works, honestly, because a lot of executives just they don't get it, right? Like, they don't get it. I know this is gonna sound weird, but, like, art is a very human, intellectual thing, right? Like, to understand art, not to make out, necessarily, and, like, you know, not necessarily to make out, because, like, nature can make beautiful things. I don't know if you would classify, like, a beautifully scenic landscape as art, necessarily. But, you know, beauty isn't limited to intelligence, but art, in a way, is. Because even if there's something beautiful, an intelligent mind needs to understand that it's beautiful in order for it to be appreciated. Anyways, so this brings me to the average executive, and where they just do not understand how art works. To them, video games are nothing but a product. Which is why your games come out looking the way they do. And by looking the way they do, I mean that is why graphics are prioritized over everything else. It's because to the executive, it's a no-brainer. It's like putting a newer engine into a car. It's like, well, yeah, obviously, people want the new thing. Or, like, you know, making a phone that's a new design. It's like, well, everybody wants that. Well, most people. But what people kind of forget is that, well, there's a specific art to this sort of stuff. There's a specific beauty to, like, a lot of those limited art styles. And then, like, you see the game come out today, and it's like, you know, like the fucking Croc remaster, and it looks horrible, because they took the old simple art style and just kind of, like, upscaled the textures, and, like, it looks worse. It would have looked better if they just kept it the same. But no, we have to redo the textures and not understand why these games look the way they do. It's honestly offensive. Offensive to, like, art. And of course, whenever you talk about this sort of stuff, there are a few sides to this. There are, and I understand that to some people this is, like, you know, surprising, to some of them this is depressing, to some of them this is shocking, but there are people who just hate art. You know AI artists, right? Well, here's a little hint. Most of them don't like AI because they believe it is, you know, a revolutionary good thing. A lot of them don't even think it's good. A lot of them think it's bad. A lot of AI bros think that AI is going to help them fight back against the art people. Because in their mind, the art people, or I guess everybody who has learned how to draw stuff, are the bad guys. For the simple reason that they can, like, they've practiced a skill they can appreciate. And, like, you know, they've practiced a skill that we normal people can appreciate. The thing with art is that there are no real shortcuts you can take, right? There is no way to become a better artist unless you put in the effort. There's no amount of money that, like, can specifically directly fix your art, right? Unless, you know, you can get somebody else to do it for you, obviously, but if you're the artist, right, the only thing money can help you with is paying for a good tutor. But even then, you're still the one doing the art, you know? And because of that, because art is so, like, limited in the sense that you need to, you know, have passion, have skill. It's not just a product. a lot of people, like, a lot of, people, especially today, with how politicized everything is now, because, well, it tends to happen, uh, there are some people who just straight up want art to die, and, well, there's a lot of historical parallels we can pull from. There's a lot of stuff to be talked about. One of my personally favorite examples of how a lot of this fails is if you've ever looked at Soviet realism, or like I'm not an art person, so keep in mind this is coming from like a STEM lord who has never been to a museum willingly, who doesn't watch movies, who doesn't read books, who listens to like the 4 artists. Like this is coming from me. Anyways, I'm not like some elite art snob. Please don't confuse me for those. But seriously, like, if you look at a lot of stuff like that, they try to convey stuff that is, like, very in your face, right? There was this one art piece called, like, Eating Ice Cream Under the Supervision of the Secret Police that was painted during the Cold War. And that art piece is more powerful than, like, every single piece of, like, fascist, imagery combined. Because if you look at, like, for instance, paintings during, Stalin's Russia, if you look at paintings during, Hitler's Germany or whatever, right? What you run into is they don't understand what people like about art, because all they can really show are the, imagery their ideology wants. Like, in a lot of German artwork, it's the big, the big, strong man. But that's it. There's nothing interesting about the art. It's just, like, an ideological image. It's just propaganda. Same thing with, like, Soviet realism. Like, the art is, oh yeah, there's a man on a harvest. But that doesn't speak to people, That doesn't speak to you in the same way as, I don't want to use the term real art, but, like, as art that's more, I guess, abstract in nature does. Because more abstract art can hit you in ways that this sort of shit just can't. This stuff isn't meant for that. It's, this thing where some people just flat out misunderstand art. And because of that, they don't understand why old games are, liked. They will see, like, a lot of the specific quirks in an older game that make it so fucking special to a lot of people, and they'll just see them as flaws that need to be ironed out. Like, removing tank controls in an old horror game, when that ruins the game. I understand a lot of younger people as well are like, wow, no tank controls, yay. But what you have to realize is that tank controls are hugely important to a lot of this stuff. Without tank controls, a lot of tension is just gone. If you would imagine in Resident Evil 4, because surprisingly enough, that also has tank controls, and that's a recent example, because I played it very recently. When you are running from an enemy, you don't just have to run, right? Like, when in a normal game, in a modding game, you would just, like, strafe around them while shooting. You can't do that in Resident Evil 4. You have to stop, turn around, and shoot, like, you would in a real-life situation. So you run into a situation where you kinda have to make tough decisions. Should I stop now? How do I handle this? But if you can just, not have tank controls and have a modern control scheme, a lot of that tension is lost. In Resident Evil 1, it's no longer about, oh, am I going to be able to, like, squeeze through a zombie? It's, squeeze through a few zombies without getting caught. It's, you just lose a lot of... You lose a lot of, you know, depth in the games. So it's extra insulting to me when I see so many of these older games get shit on for mechanics that were, you know, really fun if you can get into them. But it's that sort of thing where games aren't made for everyone. It's kind of this, you know, accessibility in games debate where, in my humble opinion, there's no fucking reason a game shouldn't have, like, a colorblind mode or, like, more control options for you to control the game. But if it goes against your creative vision, you know, like, I believe that should go first. Because video games are art first and product second. Like, when you're making, you know, if I wanted to make a mech game, right? By the way, it's winter again. Yay. If I want to make a mech game that is specifically designed to be really clunky and difficult to control, if the game specifically requires you to, like, use a keyboard, mouse, foot pedals, and 2 of those joysticks in order to even play it, that should be a choice, you know, that I'm not criticized for making. But look at how much better this is now. Because, in a way, it's my decision for my game. And I think that, you know, you need to respect an artist's decision in that sort of way. On the other hand, of course, like, there are situations where some people are just really, really... And this is where it wraps back, you know? Like, some people just really hate specific types of games and want them all to burn. And, a significant amount of that hatred goes to older RPGs. Mainly because they are actually genuinely kind of sometimes hard to get into. Let's be real here, right? Like, these games are definitely a lot harder to get into for the average person, especially the older ones, but a lot of the time, they are kind of easier to play for the simple reason that there's just a lot less, you know, they're not real time most of the time. And that, I don't know, I think that part kind of pushes people away. Oh, they're not real time. Where, especially for a lot of Western people, where they kind of grown up on, like, Call of Duty or whatever, and then they see an RPG and it's like, wow, I have no patience. I need, you know, instant dopamine hits every 5 minutes. All RPGs... No, that's a skill issue. Like... And I think that's kind of something which you can see in a lot of games. Like, I think that's, I think Minecraft's a really interesting example. Because it is a game built off of tedium. And, a really good litmus test on how somebody can, you know, on how good someone is at enjoying games is if they can have fun in something like Minecraft. Because the entire point in a game like this is finding your own fun. It's why beta has such a significant, you know, community around it, back when there were no clear goals or expectations for the player. In modern versions, yeah, you fight the dragon, but then what? Nothing. The game's over. In these games, you have no goals except the ones you set for yourself, and that's what you have to do. And there's nothing also making you do it, there's no time limit, there's no external factor. I mean, I guess you should make a little house so you don't die in the night, but then what? So, by the end of it, if some people just can't ever get into Minecraft, they don't know what to do, I'd say they're missing the point. They're missing the whimsy. The point of Minecraft is that whenever you're playing it, never should you think to yourself, what do I do next? Or like, what am I supposed to do next? You should think to yourself, what do I want to do next? Because in a game like Minecraft, like, you're the sculptor and the world is your clay. you can do whatever you want with it. If you're doing, like, sculpting, are you gonna, like, do you want, like, something to tell you you should sculpt this or that? No. You'll... this place really does look a lot more populated now. May want to remove the bottom section. It looks a little bit thick. I'll see. But, like, you know what I mean. If you are not able to understand what to do in a game like Minecraft, I feel like you're just not understanding the point of the game. The point is to find your own fun. The point is to do whatever you want. If you need to be told what to do, or to have an objective to chase in a game like this, well, then I'm sorry, but you kind of fail. Of course, this applies for games like Minecraft, not for games like Mario Galaxy 2. Like, after you get all the stars and you run out of things to do, like... yeah, I'm not gonna say, like, you're not playing it right. Or, like, you know, if you just beat games that have a clear end goal, you know, that's whatever. But if you can't find your own fun in games that are designed around it, then maybe you just don't enjoy those kinds of games. But or maybe also, you know, you may lack whimsy or patience. And both of them are really important skills. Just being able to enjoy stuff for what it is important. And I kind of like Minecraft for the specific reason that there's truly never been anything like this game, you know, before or since. For the simple reason that it is a game that is just impossible to kill. How are you gonna get people, like, you know, Mojang has this issue. How do you even get people to play other stuff they've made, like, you know, Minecraft Legends or whatever? Nobody wants that shit, because I don't play Minecraft because I enjoy the jumping, or I think the combat's real good. Or because, ooh, the building mechanics are so much fun, you know? Like, I don't enjoy the game because of that. I enjoy it because I can open up a world, you know, I can load up, for instance, Better Than Adventure, I can keep on building a giant mansion. Then when I get bored, I can go on an adventure, get some ideas, come back with some, like, fancy tools, and just continue doing stuff. It's as simple as that. Like, there's not a lot of depth to it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's a lot of fun, but... sorry, no. There's not a lot of depth to it if you don't like these kinds of open games. But if you really like them like I do, you'll find a lot of fun in this game. Like, okay, I'm sorry, but if you have never played Minecraft, what are you waiting for? I guess it has gotten a tiny bit more expensive over the years, but, like, come on. Come on! I know you know. Look, I know you know that you have the game. It's like Uno. You have Uno. You don't have the oldest sex box known to man. Play the fucking block game already. And if you can't have fun... unironically, if you're struggling to find, like, you know, an idea on what to do, just ask your friends who play the game. And if you don't have friends who play the game, well, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, just go in a forum. Just ask ChatGPT, ask Google Gemini, ask fucking Grok AI, I don't care. I mean, I could ask... can I use Gemini still? Have they... okay. Well, actually, let's see. Let's end the video this way. I said, I'm in Minecraft. What do I build? I'm out of ideas. Creative and fun. Just gives me... oh, it just gives me ideas. Okay, maybe ask on forums and not a computer, because the computer will give you a stupid answer. Wow, who knew the AI was bad and wrong? Bye-bye.